Got
only
it.
thing you save is the fees from your agency.
Got it. And on the commercial point, saying that there's still going to be, like, do you think that the overall number of, let's say, commercials are going to remain, let's say, flat, and they're just going to be distributed across more channels because there's a proliferation of channels out there? Or do you think that there's going to be actually more video, let's say, video shoots overall, because some might have to be produced for kind of smaller segments or for different purposes, or will those commercials just be cut and sliced for those different channels? Like, more so just trying to get an understanding of, will the number of video shoots who require payroll services increase, or will it remain relatively flat or even decline?
I think it may increase because of the number. Because, by the way, every time you cut a spot you're supposed to pay an additional fee to the talent.
Yep.
So those things, if anything, that might increase because there are so many more channels to do, and you might want to target specific spots and so forth. So you might do one basic spot and then shoot multiple things that you could run in various channels for various audiences. It's becoming very both social and geographical location of being able to target your audience through programmatic media and so forth, as well as, everybody is trying to reach a individual and not just mass market anymore.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's complex. The programmatic providers are a pretty interesting space, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's a whole other ballgame. We've worked in the agency space before, and I mean, some of the people who actually do the development for some of these programmatic things are just, it's insane. At least what they're able to do sometimes. It's not always perfect, and sometimes there's some funny stories where they actually target things, like on some not so, like placing brands on not so family friendly sites where those brands don't want to be, but at least they're hitting the right audience. So there's puts and takes.
Yep.
All right. I guess the only other thing that I'll quickly ask, and feel free not to answer it if you don't want to, but is the actual amount that you think your agency spends with these providers a year, because we're just trying to get a gauge of the size of the space as well, for, let's say, extreme reach and caps.
It all varies based on the volume of what the production is being done. So, one of my agencies, we did $120 million worth of production. So figure on, 12% of that $100 million, $140 million. I work with some agencies that, we do productions, but, the cast and crew portion of it is $1 million in total for the year, because they're much smaller productions. There's no general rule. You'd have to look at, the general rule in the old days was a client, you'd spend 10% of the entire budget on production for your client. Yep. That went out about 10 years ago. So it all depends on what the client is, if they have a new product and they want to launch something new. Entertainment companies and video gaming companies and car tend to spend a lot of money on production. And, consumer packaged goods and so forth don't do as much as they used to. They're using more social networking for reaching target audience. You don't see a lot of cereal commercials anymore. It's pharmaceuticals, automotive, and some banking. I don't think you even see airlines anymore. I haven't seen an Alaska or United Airlines or American Airlines TV spot in a long time on air.
Right. And I should have asked this before, but is that 12 to 14%? Does that include the talent portion and is that above the line and below the line payroll?
It's strictly the payroll. They don't make it on the pension and the taxes. So because they're billing you separate line